All right, I have 6:15, so we'll call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Approval of the manifests.
I certify that the manifests listed below totaling $1,977,081.02 have been reviewed by me and found to be proper charges against Kentucky Valley School District for goods and/or services received and have been properly processed prior to their submittal to the school board.
Move to approve the manifest?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we have no public to hear tonight, so we'll move down to reports and start with budget and property for Jim.
Okay. The Budget Property Committee just met. We really had one subject. We're talking about what the concession stand, what kind of an upgrade we might do to it out in the field. In my mind, there's really three pieces to it. What's the design? What's the role of the boosters? And the third part, I think we agree we need to get involved with the community in terms of what we really want out of a concession stand, how many people will support it, and I don't know what else I could say. We just have some more work to do, but I feel like we're maybe close to having an agreement we can actually start working on something.
Okay, any questions for Jim? Policy, Janine?
The Policy Committee met on July 27th, and that was our postponed June meeting, so we were finishing up the work from the 25-26 school year. The committee completed their very long agenda and were able to briefly review the work of the spring 2026 update. There actually is now a summer 2026 update, which is unusual, but it's because of the extended legislative session and the passage of additional educational bills that were signed into law by the governor. So the committee reviewed policy IHBH, Extended Learning Opportunities, which was sent to Principal McKillop briefly for a final review. We did work on it during the school year and is now up for a first read tonight or during the next 2 weeks. And then we did policy IHCA, Summer Activity. This is a new policy for us, and it had to, it's a priority policy, and it's due to the 2025 changes in the 306 administrative rules. That also is up for first read. Policy IMAH, Physical Activity, needs to be coordinated with policy JLCF, which is wellness, and it will be sent to the Wellness Committee for their review and suggestions for that policy, and then come back to the committee. Policy JLCK, Physical and Health Needs of Students, has a new title, but there's little change in the actual policy. It's still JLCK, and that is up for first read. Policy JLIA, Supervision of Students, moved from recommended to priority status and added a description of school property, and that's basically the only change in that policy, and that is up for first read as well tonight. Policy IJ, Instructional Materials Adoption, is changed from recommended to priority and will be sent to Dr. Stevenson for review, maybe with the Education Committee and for her review. Policy IK, Earning of High School Credit, was also sent to Dr. Stevenson and Principal McKillop for their review. Policy IKB, Homework, a re-review is required due to changes in the 306 administrative rules, and this was sent to the principals for their review. Policy IKFG, Career exploration readiness pathways and credentials is a new policy required by the 306 administrative rules and was sent to our own district counselors for their review. All policies that were sent will come back to the committee. Also, tonight you'll notice that the AC-R annual update is before the board for their approval or for first read. And that is the annual notice of contact information. Carrie Coates' name will be changed to Alyssa LaSalle, who will be the new contact for 504 and the, I can't remember. ADA and, okay, yeah, so it's non-discrimination. And that's it.
I just have one point of clarification in case you have any principals listening. They have not gotten everything's been sent, but I haven't sent that to principals yet, the homework policy. We're meeting with them tomorrow, so I was going to share it with them then.
Okay. Before I get to the withdrawal negotiations, we did have an SAU board meeting, our first board meeting since our last Conval board meeting. And essentially, it was just an organizational meeting. I was elected chairman, and we picked people to be treasurer and secretary. We also decided that we would wait until the 20th of August to have our second meeting because Francistown has their special meeting scheduled for Saturday, August 8th. And that way we would get the results of what happened with the special meeting before we started forward with the next SAU meeting. In the meantime, we have had Neil put together a list of all the current district employees as far as that might be included in an SAU budget and what their salaries are. And we'll be sharing that with everyone that's on the SAU board, and we'll get those to all the members here also. So any questions about that meeting? Okay.
So the
Yes.
sorry, it was slow to the button. So the special meeting is to determine whether they form their own SAU or a vote to, and then that will go to someone to approve that vote.
And Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Number one, the special meeting will officially designate who is on their school board. Right now, they're school board pro tem members. Number two, they have a warrant in order to look at beginning a withdrawal from SAU 1 study committee, which is the first step that they have to do. And I think also, pardon me? Right, and yeah, that's what I was going to say. And the other one is that they have to raise money or set up their finances for the period of time going into withdrawal. So those are the three warrants.
And the SAU withdrawal study is purely their district that does that.
Yep. So the process is the study committee meets, and it will be voted on by the people in Francistown, and then it has to go to the state for their approval, and they have up to 60 days to approve it. So that's why we, are kind of on a time crunch looking at. But they have let us know at the last meeting that it is definitely their intention to go forward with that withdrawal. Kevin, did you want to add anything?
Just to, is it on? Just to, that the committee, the withdrawal study committee would come up with a report that would go to the state board, and then the state board would have 60 days to say, nah, or you're free to go forward with a town meeting, another special meeting to vote on that withdrawal. So it's just a reversal of those two things.
Yep. And then there's obviously the the law says that, you know, if the state did not approve it, there's a process by which Francistown could still go forward. And also, if the town didn't vote for it the first time, there's a process by which that could go forward too, but we won't go into those at this point. Yes.
Thanks. So the SAU withdrawal process does not involve the Conval School District, but I'm hoping either Superintendent Forrest or Neil, you could describe how SAU 1 will be involved in the withdrawal study process.
Well, I can share that the superintendent is a member of, a non-voting member of the group that will be putting together that will do the study and put together the report that goes to the state. And I would say both Neil and I are support to the Francistown Independent School District, and we provide information that's requested of us as they're looking into things.
While you say we're not involved in the study, we are impacted by the outcome of that study and any resultant decision by the Board of Education, because should Francistown succeed in creating their own SAU, we now become a single district SAU again, and there is no SAU board anymore. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
I think when we say we're not involved in the vote. It's not like withdrawal where the rest of the district gets to vote. It's entirely up to Francistown as far as the vote to whether the withdrawal from SAU 1 goes forward.
The back and forth of we're responsible for the finances of the SAU as a Conval board, or we're not, because the SAU board is now responsible for the finances in the current situation. So there is a back and forth in what this body will be responsible for based on the outcome of
Yep.
that study.
And again, as I said, the timetable is kind of tight. But one of the sort of advantages, I suppose, is the fact that we would, even though if we go back to being a single district SAU, we still would have to have an SAU budget. And so, you know, yeah, I don't know if that's any advantage, but, yeah. All right, yes.
It's my understanding, I had to shift from being on the Francistown Schools Committee as an advocate. I'm a moderator of the upcoming meeting, and so I'm not an advocate anymore. I'm simply an informed party, but it is my strong impression that the Francistown Intermediate School District Board, Independent School District Board, intends to very tightly manage the time frame so the decision can be made prior to the beginning of the new year, with the idea in mind that it would help this group with their budget process if Francistown did withdraw from the SAU, that it wouldn't drag on until the spring. So,
All right, any other questions? All right, withdrawal negotiations. We did have our first meeting, and during that meeting, we went over ground rules. Essentially, the ground rules are that there must be at least one board member at each negotiation session. We obviously have our team, and they've put together a team. Another important thing is that all proposals must be made in writing. So it'll be a matter of making sure what the proposals are ahead of time. And we did set it up so that we did schedule 4 more meetings, the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of August and the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of September, to try to get things wrapped up as quickly as possible so that we would know what was going to happen going into putting together our budget in the fall. And we also decided that written proposals and the agenda would have to be to each district by the 1st and 3rd Mondays. And what that allows us to do is, if there is a proposal, because we would be meeting on the 1st or 3rd Tuesdays, we could bring the proposals back to the board and share with you what the proposals were. So I think that timetable is probably going to work out well for going forward. Our next meeting, one more thing is, it was decided at that meeting that legal counsel for both districts would be at all of the meetings. So our legal counsel will be at the meeting with us when the negotiations are occurring. Our next meeting, there's 4 things that are on the agenda. The first is building acquisition, which is, according to law, what Francistown has to do in order to take back over their elementary school. Neil has put together with the SAUs and district staff a list of all the contents in the Francistown Elementary School, and we'll be going over at the meeting what will happen to those contents. Francistown does get the school building back, but the contents are open to discussion. We'll be going over trust funds. They have requested that we give them a copy of what all of our trust funds are, so that we can discuss whether or not they should be getting their share of the trust funds back. And finally, they've requested a collaborative approach to hiring in the near future because, again, they will be trying to put together a staff for the 27-28 school year, and have asked, as I said, a collaborative approach to that. So, any questions about any of those things? All right. Communications, Curtis.
Thanks. The Communications Committee met last Thursday, the 30th. We began by discussing committee goals, which will lead into our larger board goals discussion in 2 weeks. I think the core of it, we're going to bring something a little more concrete to the next meeting, but the core of it was to continue our work making the board's work more transparent and accessible to our community, and continuing to offer different ways for people to engage with us, be it forums or Facebook. We had a discussion around HB 1300, which was the bill that was signed into law that will put a tax cap ballot question on the November, put it on the ballots during the November elections. the language in that bill permits public hearings to take place, and we think that it is in our best interest to help inform the public around what the bill does, what a tax cap is, how it will affect us if it were to be adopted. So we're beginning to plan out a timeline for getting into the 8 towns who would be voting on the Conval budget, and we're looking at doing that in October. So the presentation we're thinking of would be a short 15-minute offering that would precede conversation and Q&A, and I think we're looking to bring that presentation to the board ahead of any public hearings that would take place in October. So the last meeting in September, we could have that discussion here as a full board before we go out and present. We also spent a good deal of time talking about the launch and the workflow of the Conval School Board's Facebook page, which is now live. And if you're watching at home or sitting here around the board table and you have a Facebook account, please follow the Conval School Board Facebook page. We're posting agendas, public documents, and links to meetings such as this one, as well as approved communications that the board publishes. We discussed the workflow and how that's going to be handled in the SAU and us, and then we also discussed, I'll pass it off to Elizabeth to share how we're going to let people know that the Facebook page is out there.
Okay, so we discussed a number of options for getting the word out, but I think we decided that the first thing and probably the most effective thing would be for those of us who are on Facebook to share a post from the Conval School Board Facebook page to our community Facebook pages. We would be sharing probably a post that would have a link to maybe today's meeting. And with that post, we would include text, which I'll read out. And the idea is that everyone would include the same text, so we would be sending a consistent message with each of our posts across the different community Facebook pages. So the proposed language for it is, and we kind of went back and forth, but we may discuss it further, but is the Conval School Board announces the launch of an official Facebook page. One of the school board's longstanding goals is to improve outreach and foster an informed Conval community. We expect that this Facebook page will help us meet this goal by providing easy and timely access to the school board agendas, public documents, and meeting recordings. The page will serve as an informational one-way communication channel, and comments will not be enabled. Community members are always encouraged to contact their elected school board representatives directly, attend board meetings, or participate during designated public comment periods. The board will continue working to improve communication and create meaningful opportunities to hear from the communities we serve. And I think we're talking about doing that maybe later this week when the link to tonight's meeting is up on the Facebook page.
Yeah, thanks. So we would, if that language is good with everybody, we will send an email out to individual board members, and you can post it with a link. We'll have a kind of preset copy and paste and post it into your own community pages. So
I find nothing wrong with that language, except it's long. It is way longer than the Facebook attention span.
Yeah, well, so it would probably help if you saw it in writing, I think. I just think you would view it slightly differently. But as short as it actually is, I mean, in the grand scheme of written things, we kind of went back and forth and tweaked it a lot. But I think we're open to further changes, right? We removed tons of things and made it like 3 sentences, and then we thought, no, we really need to include certain things. So
So I think the visual elements that'll be present on a Facebook post are the first line, which says,
It says, the Conval School Board announces the launch of an official Facebook page, and there'll be like the preview image for tonight's meeting, and maybe no one will read the rest of it at all, but I think it needs to be there anyway.
longer messages are generally truncated by the see more button. You have to click to see more. So if someone is very interested, which I know you all are, you can click to expand. Otherwise, you're going to click the link and go to YouTube, or click the link that will go to the Facebook page directly.
Will this communication be readily usable by towns that don't have Facebook pages, like Sharon? They don't have a Facebook page.
You don't have a community Facebook page in
Do
Sharon?
emails.
Well, we have, we outlined probably 10 different ways that we're going to continue to announce this. So this, I think, is step one. And I think if we do them one at a time, we're actually going to learn something from the process too, about how many followers each action picks up. So we can kind of map the effectiveness of community pages versus sending things directly to families versus, talking to your select board reps. We know that one's going to be very effective.
I mean, also, I would just add, Sharon has 300-something residents, and there are over 12,600 members of the Peterborough community page, which is like twice the population of Peterborough. Probably everyone on Facebook in Sharon is on the Peterborough Facebook group, so the word would still get out to them.
Okay, any other questions about the Facebook page? All right, consent agenda. Do you have any comments about that?
Well, I'll just say that you'll see that we are bringing forward a principal for AES, which is very exciting, and an AD, an athletic and co-curricular director for the high school. So we're very excited about filling those two positions.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as it appears in our agenda.
All right, we have a second? Okay, any questions about the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, SAU report and presentation of business.
So we kept this section very short tonight so that you'd have more time for your goals. So the only thing in here are the monthly events, which are included in your packet and in the publicly accessible drive. So anything else for the month of August?
Tom, did you want to? Members of the Facilities Committee, anyone can't make August 13th? Okay,
Might as well make it a double with communications.
who's going
So-
first? Well, it'll matter to the people that aren't on both committees, so.
Get your wish, Jim. 6 o'clock for you? Is that right?
So facilities at 6 and communications at 7? All right. Were you gonna?
Anything else for August? And then September. Budget and Property before our 2 board meetings at 5:30? Okay.
Can we resume the Education Committee in September? We were doing the third Monday of the month, so that would be the 21st, and we were doing 6 o'clock. I know Kat's not here. I can email her after this meeting, but for the other members, does that work? The 21st, September 21st at 6 o'clock? Okay, okay.
Okay, so how about policy on the 22nd? That's the fourth Tuesday? Mary, Carl?
Is there any chance we could do it a different night? I have open house on Thursday and I'm an organizer. So I have an odd feeling I'm gonna be busy with food trucks.
Okay. 15th is the school board meeting. How about the 14th, which is the second Monday? Is that good? Okay. All right, so we'll do the 14th for policy?
At 6, at 6?
Yes.
Okay, I think that takes care of everyone. Pardon me? Yeah. Yeah. All right, on to old business, before and after school care.
So I'm going to start on a personal note. As a single parent who relied on, depended on before and after school care to support myself, my daughter, it's programming that I have a lot of empathy for our families who also need that programming. As your superintendent, our priority has had to remain on kind of our bell-to-bell programming. And as you know, since COVID, we've had a number of big things on our plate that have taken our attention, so we haven't really been able to look at before and after school programming. Healthy Kids came forward and said something that really caught our attention, and that was that they will start programming if they only have one student. That has been a real barrier in the past to getting programming, and when we've started to look into programming, there's always been kind of, we need this many children to make it work, and in some of our small schools, that's been hard at times to meet. When Healthy Kids came forward, I felt like we needed to look into it, and I had them present to our admin council, and we've done some work. We brought this forward last time. People raised great questions about Healthy Kids and the programming they were offered, or they want to offer. And so I shared a document with everyone, and I continued to add things right up until, I think, 5:20 or something. I talked to Rob Millay from Keene, he's SAU 24 and is the superintendent for Marlowe, there are 3 districts that have had Healthy Kids programming in place, and it is expanding to other districts this coming school year, but we did get a chance to talk to all of those districts. I also compiled just some of our history. So in the document, I let you know that Antrim Rec is actually, they tried to get a before-school program running during the school year last year, and we found that once the school year has gotten started, parents have already found solutions. So they are trying to get it started this fall. They need at least 5 to 6 students in order to run it, but they are going to attempt to get that going. And I'm hoping very much they're able to do that. And so I compiled information shared by Celeste, the director of rec from Antrim, and the cost in a chart. I also talked to the Grapevine. We've partnered with the Grapevine before. They have offered before and after school care in at AES that AES, GBS, and students from Pierce have been able to access, and we were able to provide busing. So if you were a child of a Pierce student who was taking advantage of it, parents could drop off at Antrim, and then a bus would pick up any students in the morning and drive them from Antrim to Pierce, and in the afternoon, same thing. We then also partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, the Souhegan Valley Boys and Girls Club. They offered before and after school at Greenfield for, I think, 2 or 3 years. And we were able to set up a similar situation that we did for Antrim and Pierce, where students from Hancock and Francistown could also, we arranged busing so that they could also take advantage of the before and after school programming that was being offered at Greenfield. The Boys and Girls, at that time, the Boys and Girls Club had actually outreach to the Grapevine and showed interest in kind of taking over the programming that they were doing at AES, which worked well for the Grapevine because the director of that programming had put in their resignation, or it was their last year, and so they were concerned about filling that position because the timing of doesn't work for everyone, because you either early morning and then you have a gap, and so they reached an agreement where the Boys and Girls Club was going to take over that programming, and then COVID hit, and we went remote, and for a while we weren't offering any programming, and when we were able to offer programming again, staffing had been lost, and they couldn't get it up and going again. I did talk to the Boys and Girls Club. They would be interested in, it's too late for them to do anything this year, but they would certainly be interested in talking with us. They shared that their kind of perfect number is 28 students. So if we were to use them again, we would need to kind of identify central spots and set up a situation where multiple schools could access that. So I included, I know people were interested in looking at kind of price comparisons, so I included what they are charging for programs that are currently in place. They did share, when they were running programs for us, we did a before and after school. They did share the only before school program they're currently doing is with Milford, I believe. What else? I did add, for people that maybe looked at it earlier today, I did compile information from the surveys, some surveys that were done for the 4 schools that we've been considering it for. And I don't know if I don't want to, are there any questions about what you saw in here? I think both, when I talked to the superintendents, Mason loves Healthy Kids. Couldn't say enough good things about them. They also use Healthy Kids for school vacations and summer vacations. Stoddard and Marlowe just started it in January, and Stoddard have just finished their first year. They did kind of share, I think at Mason there was a couple weeks where they didn't have staffing. That school seems to love Healthy Kids so much, the school figured out a solution where teachers rotated through and covered it. I know there was more of an extended time in Stoddard where they didn't have staffing. And I talked to Crystal, who's been great from Healthy Kids, and she explained that they have hired more people that are available to rotate through so that they have more people that if something comes up, they have a backup plan in place. I do think there is a lot to think about. We're now in August. I'm wondering, probably a lot of families have, if they need this, have found solutions. I am concerned about, would Healthy Kids even be able to staff 4 different schools? And that's based on, they may very well, but based on, certainly at the SAU, we're thinking about a lot about staffing, and when things aren't staffed at this point, we certainly start to get nervous. So at this point, a kind of a very kind of conservative approach would be, let's take this year to continue. It was great to compile all this information. We can continue to look at it, but I know that Francistown is very interested in piloting this, and I think to at least pilot it in one school to see how it goes, I would be supportive of that.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I think it's a great service. What I don't want it to be, though, is, the camel's nose under the tent into having this district or the SAU offer this service. It has to be clear that this is a Healthy Kids service, and we are allowing them to use our facilities. I don't even want to see the word partnering with on the one flyer, right? Other than that, I think making clear that this is a Healthy Kids service, and if it goes away, it's Healthy Kids that made it go away, not Conval that made it go away, is under those circumstances, I'm fine with it, because I have no interest in us getting in the before and after school business as a district.
Okay. Part of it obviously would be that we would have a written agreement with them that obviously we would have our.
I read the agreement,
Yep.
and I didn't see anything that jumped out at me that was poor in the agreement. Just want to make sure that they're doing the advertising. If they want to use our Facebook page to advertise, that's fine, but they're the ones that are doing the advertising, right? Not Conval. It's on them.
Okay. Yes.
But we would have a right to make it go away even per the agreement, so it might be us that makes it go away if something
So if there's
bad happened.
per the agreement, that's absolutely right. So if there's a reason, that they're doing something bad, that's fine.
Janine.
So SKIP has been a longstanding program at PES, and it does accept students from other towns. And I don't, other than they rent the building that they're in for $1 a year, and we've had our challenges sometimes in getting them to give us a good lease, sign the lease, because they were having a change in their board. And the director, I don't believe that there was ever any expectation that the school district would take that program over. I don't think that's not a thing. They're separate childcare programs. They're before and after school programs, and there's never an expectation that somehow the school is going to somehow become responsible. But it would be nice, and I mentioned this before, I talked to Pam Murphy about the possibility of SKIP expanding, and they do have a board meeting this week, so I don't know what our next step is, whether there would be room for them to think about whether they could do this. She was also a little bit doubtful as to whether they could go into as many schools as it looks like Healthy Kids is going to go into. And they certainly, I don't know, could run a program on one child the way Healthy Kids is promising, so. But it would be good to hear from our own homegrown program, I think.
I had a question. Was it Carl? Did you have your hand up?
One of the options you mentioned, you said might require getting 28 students together from different places. Who provides the transportation if that's going to be part of it?
So that was the Boys and Girls Club. And in order to do that, so we've done that before, where it's just worked out that, so again, when peer students were going to Antrim, as the bus is dropping students off, the bus has to go back to the bus terminal. It's a very quick, off the highway, back on the highway to drop those kids off. So we looked at situations like that so we could support providing it to families, but also getting kids back to their schools.
Tom?
It seems like there was a lot of interest in Greenfield. I don't know if we want to consider, based on just the numbers of people who responded in the survey and indicated interest in both the before and the after school, if that's something that if we're going to pilot it, would we want to maybe pilot it at 2 schools, especially based on that strong response?
Okay. Yeah, I think, one of the things that we talked about was, looking at some other options as well. I know the school that I was principal for had the Boys and Girls Club program, and that was exceptional when they ran it. So that's something that we've already started looking at for more information. So I think, having the one school allows us to sort of see how it goes rather than trying to expand to several different places before we check out the other options that are available. Curtis?
I remain skeptical of inviting an out-of-state for-profit company into our district, and a company that has a very forward-facing growth mindset, which is we'll get in, we'll do it at at one student, and it doesn't. It strikes me that a better, more thoughtful, and sustainable approach would be to partner with local organizations and to really reach out to our community to figure out the need, figure out the potential for partnerships that build our region, that don't send state dollars back to New York. I think the number of respondents is low from the surveys. We have some schools, it's 20%, 25% of the schools, and I think we need a more, if we're going to do this, if we're going to address this need, and before and after care is a need, I think we need to come at this not from a solution first. We need to come at it from a problem and figure out the need and find out our options and pick the best one. So I think that's what the process needs to be. It needs to be more than one survey sent out to parents, and we need to reach more people and do it over a sustained period of time.
All right, first.
So we have an urgent need. Can we do both things? Can we have them come in because they are ready and raring to go and we can get childcare for those who really need it, and then continue to look for homegrown, because I agree with that. I would rather see area people, doing this, getting taxpayer money from the same area, or not taxpayer money, it has nothing to do with us, never mind. But I just think that if we have this need that's dire for so many people, we should at least get something going for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen the survey and I don't have access to it. Can I just get a quick summary of what that says and if it has evidence that we are in dire need of these programs this year?
Well, first I'll say there's kind of dire need as a district, but there's also sometimes dire need of just the family. But I can certainly share information from BES. So there were 5 responses, and all 5 were interested in both before and after school care. At DCS, we had 9 responses. 5 were interested in before school for 4 to 5 days, and 3 were interested in before school program 1 to 2 days a week. And then for after school, 5 were interested in 4 to 5 days of after school, and 4 were interested in 1 to 2 days of after school. And at FES, we had 8 responses. 3 would be interested in before school program 4 to 5 days a week, and 2 would be interested in before school program 3 days a week. And of the 8 responses, 3 would be interested in after school program 5 days a week, and 2 would be interested in after school program 3 days a week. And Greenfield, there was 21 responses. 10 said that they'd be interested in a before school program, and 15 said they'd be interested in a after school program. I will say that these were done at the end of the year, so again, I don't know where families are now. I mean, some families likely found a solution. I'm sure there are still families looking. If we were to move forward looking at other options, I think an ideal thing would be in the spring to solidify that option so parents know as they're leaving the school year and they can count on it for the fall. So.
Okay. Mary?
Point of clarity, Skip is up and running, correct?
Yes, it is, yes.
Is there, if we want to take it slow, is there anything that would prevent us from keeping Skip going and then, or continuing to work with Skip, and then maybe bringing Healthy Kids into Greenfield, since there was such a high response there, and just focus on the 2 schools for the time being?
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a big leap to go from just 1 school to 2, and just based on the numbers. And Ann mentioned about her needing childcare. We used to, my wife went from working 5 days a week to 3. We used to drive from Connecticut to Queens. My parents would watch our 3 kids, or 2 kids at that time, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we commuted. So we moved back in with my parents an hour away and just did a long commute because that's the only thing we could figure out. And I've read so many stories about childcare needs in our community. So I don't have the personal experience here, but it seems to be a perennial issue.
Kevin?
Just for clarification, when we're talking about 1 school or 2 schools, are we talking about FES as the primary pilot?
Well, there were 4 administrators who said they'd be interested in looking at moving forward with Healthy Kids, and that was Dublin, Greenfield, Francistown, and Pierce. And then I just started with, if we wanted to start very conservatively.
So when we're talking about, when the proposal that's before the board is not a specific school, but at 1 school or maybe 2?
Well, I think it's for the board to decide.
Okay.
Mary, Elizabeth first.
Okay, so I'll preface my comment with the comment that I have 2 children in elementary school in the district. We've never had any extended family anywhere nearby or any friends who can reliably watch our kids. So we've done 100% of the childcare. And fortunately for us, like, we have the flexibility to make that work. So I understand there is a very real need. This feels rushed to me. I don't think many of us knew much or anything about this until the last meeting, which was only 2 weeks ago. I feel like it's being presented all of a sudden with this sense of urgency. The school year is going to start. And I don't think that the very real need is still a reason to kind of do something without the kind of research that should go into it. Once you have something in place like this, it's hard to pull the plug because people are relying on it. And I don't think that they would be going into Francistown, which is a tiny school, without thinking that they're going to be expanding into the other schools. I've also seen bad reviews online, both from parents and from employees of the company. I'm just not sold on it right now. My other question I have is, what are the parents in Francistown doing now? I mean, they must have something that they use.
Okay. Curtis, and then Jim.
If this is offered in other schools, does it shift enrollment patterns, and does Skip lose students?
I don't know that's a question any of us can answer, so. I mean, it's something we obviously can check on, but Janine, do you think you?
Just because of the transportation, I don't know why that would happen. I don't think that would happen. I don't think that's a big concern. I guess I would be more concerned about Elizabeth's concerns. And I don't think it's any problem for programs to close and pull out of school. I think they do it pretty. If it's costing them money, they do it pretty quickly. And if they can't find staffing is a big issue.
All right,
I
Jim?
meant, sorry,
I'm
just
sorry.
to clarify my point, I meant that if we decided we didn't like them, it would be sort of difficult in some ways because parents are now relying on it.
Right. Jim?
I also have a problem with scope creep here. There are lots of needs in lots of ways. There is no state, there is no federal mandate to provide any kind of before or after school care. It is simply not the burden of this school district to pay for those things in any way. Offering up facilities for someone else to come in and utilize that doesn't cost us money is an acceptable way of aiding the provision of that and meeting that need that way. But it is not our mandate, and not one dime of our dollars, taxpayer dollars, should go to this. Because there's an unending series of needs out there that are outside of our scope of interest, and this is.
Yes. And I think there was a fee schedule that showed that, again, it's all
Yeah, I
parent,
understand that with
yeah.
Healthy Kids, that it's not coming out of pocket, but I'm just hearing homegrown and other things going on here
Yeah.
that are not in our scope.
Well, I will say that this year, I volunteered. Pierce ran an after-school activity program through the month of April and May. 1 month we ran volleyball and 1 month we ran soccer. And we had 12 to 15 students that showed up almost every night. So.
Not denying the need. I'm
Yep.
saying it is outside of our scope.
All right. And did you have something?
Oh, I was just in, Elizabeth, I completely understand your point. I will say, no matter who we bring in, there's a likelihood that we will not be able to sustain it. That's what we've seen in our schools. So there once was school kids at Temple in place, but when enrollment dropped, they couldn't sustain the program. So that is a very real outcome, no matter who we are working with or who we allow to come into our facilities and offer that programming.
I mean, I had Curtis first, then down to Kevin.
And you can correct me on this, but to Elizabeth's point, my understanding was the initiation of Healthy Kids, that we as a school committee in Francistown initiated contact with Healthy Kids because of because of what we knew about Mason. And then came to you and said, hey, we're interested in and hope this could be piloted at Francistown Elementary this year. Is that a possibility? I don't think Healthy Kids came in on their own. I know they didn't come into us saying, can you get us into Conval? That wasn't part of their plan. It didn't appear to be part of their business model as we looked at it in where they were initiating new programs. So I don't think that camel's nose in the tent metaphor works in this situation. I think there was an outreach to them, not them trying to find a way in. Francistown wants to pilot this unequivocally. And if there are other schools that the board imagines should be included in that, that would be great, but we'd like, at the minimum, to be a pilot for this place. This kind of service is notoriously quiet. And what I mean by that is the demand for it is often quiet because people cobble together whatever they have to cobble together with their families and their friends. And each of these communities is different that way. We're not in the flow where the boys and girls from Sauhegan, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Sauhegan, are going to target Francistown. And again, we're not of the numbers that they're going to see in Greenfield, because Greenfield has more students, more families involved. So for a place like Francistown, and maybe Temple, the size issue is really crucial here. This may be our best option, period. And the for-profit issue puzzles me because we do a lot of things with for-profit companies. All of our curriculum, I would bet, is purchased from for-profit companies. The transportation is from for-profit companies, and these are interstate companies. I just don't get that being a big deal. This is the solution for the district to this issue, which has been here for a long time, and it's an equity issue between the larger towns and the smaller towns. This issue the solution's probably going to be a hybrid. It's probably going to be patched together, not-for-profits, and hopefully, if there's a quality for-profit, we can use that in situations where a not-for-profit is just not going to be available. And Mason, again, their experience with this is instructive. So.
Okay, one more.
I don't want to come off as like sounding rude or anything, but if this is something that Francistown wants to pilot and they're a separate school district than Conval, why aren't they the ones that are like piloting it, and what's our responsibility here in piloting them?
Because they will not be a separate school district till next year. So right now, they're under the Conval School Board, so
By next year, you mean like
School year.
okay, so 2028. Okay.
Kevin, I respect your opinion tremendously. I just had a question. How dependent is the success of the program in Mason on the actual teachers or the people that they hire to take care of the kids as opposed to the system used to process them?
How dependent is that on the quality of the people in the room with the kids?
Jim, I don't hear well, and you're talking very softly, so I don't know what you asked.
Can you ask him for me?
I think his question was, how dependent is the success of the program in Mason upon the people they hired versus the program?
Like everything we do in schools, it's completely dependent on the people that they hire and those people making themselves available. Often it's paraprofessionals who are employed by us who now have an additional opportunity for income.
All right. This discussion can go on for a long time. I think it would be good to at least see what this company is, able to do. So whether we look at piloting it in Francistown or whether we add one other school, I think it'd be a good opportunity to have a service like that and see how it works out while we're looking at all the other options that we could put forth starting next year. And as the agreement says, at any point in time, if something is amiss, we can, it's not good to do that because parents are counting on it. But so, Curtis.
What is the likelihood that, they're advertising right now for a regional director for this. I don't know if they're advertising for staff. So what do you know, are they actually able to get this up and running? Are we approving something that it's like might not even take off if people are hired? Or what's the likelihood at the moment of this even happening?
So I can't answer that for sure, but as I said earlier, at this point in the year, we have positions that are not filled and we're nervous about it. So I think the likelihood of them being able to staff one building is more likely than staffing 4 buildings for sure.
And this is yet another reason why I want to make sure this is not a Conval sponsored thing. We are simply allowing them to use our facilities. It's like granting any other group the authorization to use our facilities. What they do with them within their terms of agreement is on them.
Good.
So what then is the role of and the burden on administration to help make sure they're showing up, they're there communicating, managing? Like what does that look like in practice? Because it's not going to be a just here are the keys, do what you want. What is that like? What has that been? Have there been negative experiences in other districts? Have there been, but when you talk to other supers, have they said it's workable and manageable for them? Have there been instances where it's not? What's the administrative cost to doing it?
What I've heard from other superintendents is they very much like having another organization come in and run before and after school programming so that it is not on the district. Our experience in the past, it's been minimal. It's been run by the organizations. That's the only thing I heard where administration got involved was, I think it was hard in Stoddard when they didn't have the staffing and they weren't able to provide the programming to families. So I can imagine that must have been very hard for the families also. So I can only tell you that Crystal shared how that they have, what they've put into place to ensure that that doesn't happen again.
Okay. Can I have a motion Yeah, Jim.
So I move to pilot the Healthy Kids before and after school program at Francistown Elementary School beginning in August of 2026 through 27, with the modification of the Healthy Kids flyer to remove any reference to partnership with the district.
Okay, let me get a second first. All right, yep. All right, now,
Amend the motion to include GES.
do I have a second for that? Okay. All right, any other questions? Yes.
So one question, so along with what Jim was talking about, that there would be no actual Conval involvement. In Mason, it says they did mention there was a 2-week stretch when they needed to provide staffing, which they were happy to do. Staff in the building took turns providing coverage. Would we be doing that with staff from Francistown? So if they just didn't have staff, we just would not have a program running.
Well, what I can say is I can't guarantee that we're going to take that on. That would be Healthy Kids'
Okay.
issue to solve.
All right. All right, first of all, we have to do the amendment, which would be adding Greenfield to the original amendment, original motion. So all those in favor of adding Greenfield to the original motion, please, pardon me? Sure, that's what I was going to say. Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right. So Greenfield is added to the original motion. Now going back to the amended motion, which now states that we will start with Francistown and Greenfield and adding Jim's motion to make sure of the brochure. So again, can I have a show of hands for all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. All right, motion carries. Yes, Dr. Forrest.
So would the board be receptive to me talking with SDA and seeing if we had, say, students at Pierce that would like to take advantage of the programming at Greenfield, and they could provide busing at no or minimal cost? Yes, parents would have to drop off, and parents would at before school, and they'd have to pick up at after school. But if I'll at least look into it and see what that involves and bring it back.
And given Pierce's proximity to both towns, some might come to Francistown, some might go to Greenfield.
All right, thank you. Handbooks. Okay, the way I want to handle this tonight is that we'll look at the handbooks, make sure there are no questions, vote on accepting the handbooks, but we'll do it in by level. So we'll look at all the elementary handbooks first, then the middle school, then the high school, because pretty much the staff in the elementaries have gotten together. They're almost identical wording and what have you. Same thing with the middle schools. So, starting first with elementary schools. Any questions or comments about the handbooks from the elementary schools? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to accept our elementary school handbooks?
Motion to approve all the elementary school handbooks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, now middle school. Any questions about the middle school handbooks? Can I have a motion to accept those?
Move to accept the middle school handbooks.
I
I'm-
second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And finally, the high school. Can I have a motion to accept the high school?
I move that we accept the high school handbook.
Second.
Okay?
Jim.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, good.
Blended learning,
Pardon me?
blended learning.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Can I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second, Tom.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, new business, first reads. Anything else from Janine?
Can I
Yes.
jump in? Am I correct in thinking that the AC policy is the one I was working on and we're not actually ready for a first read?
All we're doing for, and correct me if I'm wrong, the ACR is updating, you have to annually update the contact information and make sure it's correct.
Gotcha.
That's what the R is, contact for what, and we've had a change in staff as Craig Cook retired and Alyssa LaSalle took her place, so that was a change in contact information.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Again, if you do have any other questions or comments that come up, you can either get hold of Janine or Dr. Forrest with those before the next meeting. Board goals. So we have set up 3 meetings. Tonight, we'll be reviewing the self-assessment that we sent out to board members. Curtis will be going through the results of those. And we'll be talking a little bit about how we want the goals set up for the year. Then on the 18th, we'll have the administrators coming in talking about the school goals for each of the schools and the district goals to look at adding those in. And then on the next meeting, which is the 25th, we will decide on what our goals are going to be for the year. What I would like to see a little different this year is that I think one of the districts that I looked at had an action plan attached to their goal where it would just be a very short, this is what the goal is, and these are the next steps that we would take to try to move forward with that goal. And so that it actually gives you a little bit easier way of measuring whether that goal is going forward or not. So I think it'd be good to, attach that with the goals. So any questions about the process? All right, Curtis?
Okay, I'm going to need an HDMI cable, and this might not transfer to the live stream. So I was hoping to, thank you for filling it out. Kevin, you did not get the survey because this is your first board meeting, so apologies for excluding you, but your basis to self-assess, not having been here. Everybody else, I was hoping to have and of course, Kevin, the participation in this piece of it, while we didn't ask you to fill out the survey, we do hope you participate in the remainder of our goal setting. I had hoped to have prepared a report to send to you, much like I did with the superintendent evaluation. However, I got about half the responses back like late Monday night, Tuesday. So I'll admonish those of you who didn't timely reply because I don't know who you are. So it's blind, so I'm not sure. I'm figuring Kat's one of the one missing. We had 11 out of 12, and she's on a vacation, so we'll cut her a break. So this, I don't think this will transfer to a live stream, but we will publish the report at a later date.
It may.
Hmm?
Usually the issue is if we change computers during the meeting, but since it's only been connected to your computer, it may work.
So we,
So maybe Tom can test out the skills he's learned.
And Curtis, I will apologize and formally to the whole group, I did not reply because I didn't feel like I had enough experience to really answer a lot of those questions. So I apologize. I apologize to everybody if I dropped the ball, but
I was, you didn't need to out yourself. I was
no,
just
I'm
having
totally
fun.
about outing myself.
Okay. Try to bring my mic closer. So I'm not. We'll go through these one by one, and I didn't have a predetermined plan of how we'll discuss each. I don't know why it's flickering. But if anybody has any comments related to any particular question on the survey, I can't. This is full screen. So I'll read it out loud. So question one, oh geez, this sucks. The board policies relate to the board district mission and vision statements. And we had 45.5% saying that is fully achieved, 45.5% saying it's mostly achieved, and 9%, or likely 1, partially achieved. My math is going to get better. So I think 9% is going of 11 is 1, 18 is 2, and take it from there. The board. This connection sucks. The board has an active strategic plan which is being implemented. We had one respondent say we fully achieved this, 27%, or 3 saying mostly achieved. About half said it's partially achieved, and 2 people said they don't know, or they're unsure. So that I'll also preface that this assessment is an NHSBA piece. So in the future, if we want to change these from fully achieved to don't know, unsure, if any of these metrics don't really fit how we want to think about these responses, let me know and we'll change that.
And I think the strategic plan is something that we have to talk more about going forward.
The next question is, the board is meeting goals established under the strategic plan. And there we had 36% saying it's mostly achieved, 45% partially, and 18 or two people saying they don't know. Nobody said this was fully achieved. Next up, the strategic plan aims to enhance or improve student academic outcomes. We had 2 respondents, fully achieved, 45.5%, mostly achieved, and 36, or 4 people, I'm guessing, saying it's partially achieved. The board annually sets goals and evaluates the superintendent. Here we're into some more blue and red, which means positive responses. So 63% fully achieved, 36% mostly achieved. And we did last year. We set goals and we've evaluated the superintendent. Next up, the board provides the superintendent with clear expectations of performance, 72% fully achieved. 2 people said mostly achieved, and 1 respondent don't know, unsure. This is hard to look at. I'm sorry, everybody. That's HDMI for you. The board trusts the superintendent to make proper decisions relative to student matters, staff oversight, and academic achievement. Pretty high marks, 81% fully achieved, and the remainder mostly achieved. The board ensures a continuous planned program of public information. We had 2 respondents saying this is fully achieved, 72.7% mostly achieved, and 9.1 partially achieved. And I forget my own answers, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was the partially achieved as the chair of communications, who will forever be unsatisfied with my performance of those duties. What? You were too?
Well, that's only one, so.
Good. Well, I'm glad to know it was you. If I was mostly achieved, I definitely wasn't fully achieved. Next up, the board fosters cooperation with news media for the dissemination of information about the district. We had 27% fully achieved, 45% mostly achieved, and 27% partially achieved. This is an interesting, I wonder how people think about this. We have, the Ledger Transcript out there listening, who is more reliant on our streaming these days, which is great, but I've been thinking continuously about ways to make it easier for them to do their job and to report out on the board's work. And I talked a little bit in communications about, issuing more press releases or more regular press releases. And we've talked in the past about issuing fact sheets or statements to make sure on big matters that they have their numbers correct. I'm totally open to ideas on this because, it's important, and it's a goal of the committees. I also wonder what everybody thinks. We have news media, and to the extent that, for better or worse, people get their news on social media sites, I wonder how your feelings on this marker will change now that we are more present, or will be more present on Facebook. I'll keep going if there are no thoughts. You can mull over those questions for a later session. The board encourages citizen participation in an advisory capacity. We had 1 don't know, unsure, 45% partially, and 45% mostly achieved. And I don't know, to what degree does that hinge on advisory and your understanding of someone's advisory capacity to the board? In some places there are advisory budget committees, or we have the Selectmen's Advisory Committee, so we have, regular meetings with our town leaders, and we're making it a point this year to talk through the budget and the budget process with them in a very proactive manner. And that's not to say I responded as mostly achieved, but anybody watching, please come and talk to us during public comment or send us an email. Advise. The board seeks input from all stakeholder and constituency groups. So a slightly more positive response to our performance there, with 63% as mostly achieved and 36% as partially. Board meetings are productive. The board regularly addresses all agenda items. So I have 81.8% fully achieved, and so that's 9 people said fully achieved, and 1 person mostly achieved, 1 person partially achieved. Well, think we do regularly address all agenda items. We go from top to bottom. So I think if the answers are mostly or partially, they would fall along the lines of, are we being productive? Agenda items relate to matters within the board's roles and responsibilities. So we had 10 respondents, they were fully achieved, and 1 person mostly achieved. Dialogue among board members is respectful and considerate. I don't know what most school board, I would want to see what this looks like for every school board in the state of New Hampshire right now. So we are 72% fully achieved and 27% mostly achieved. Well, I'm certainly grateful there's no partially achieved. But I don't know if, yeah, I won't editorialize on that. I love you all. All board members come prepared to discuss all the agenda items. Nobody believes that is true to its fullest potential. So, yeah, so we had 72.7% mostly achieved, 27% partially achieved. And sure, like, I don't know. My first thought on seeing that is, yeah, let's acknowledge the amount of work there is to do on a never-ending basis, and at the same time, don't give ourselves too much grace with that, and don't give each other too much grace with that either. Let's work. Board members have been given sufficient info data to make informed decisions. 36% said it's fully achieved, 45% mostly achieved, and 2 respondents partially achieved. There were some... My mic is on. So that was another, apologies if people can't hear me. I did send that question out last week. Some of the microphones in here are set to different volumes. So this mic is right in front of me and it's on, and some people's mics are hot, some people's mics are not, and that should be a simple fix that we should look at. Just putting it out there. Okay, there were a list, maybe it's also, I'm speaking over my shoulder. There were 5 questions at the end of these. I haven't read through them yet, and so is what do you see as the superintendent's role at board meetings? Shall I read them, the responses?
Yeah, because
Yeah. Okay. So superintendent's role at board meetings. Provide information and guide educational decision making. Advising, help prepare agenda. Present reports, recommend actions, answer questions, implement board decisions. To provide her expertise and experience to board discussions, and to learn the subtleties of board guidance. Amen. Should be as an information provider to the board. Provide all pertinent, requested, and needed information. Ensure board is up to date with all district business. Provide updates on school matters, bring urgent matters to the board's attention. Offer opinion on school board deliberations when necessary. Provide the board with information needed to make decisions. Support the board chair. Based on my relatively limited experience, I think that her role is to help set the agenda and speak for the district, informing the board of district business. This includes work towards new programs and other initiatives, staffing, etc. Some of this is delegated to the assistant superintendent. And then last, provide information so the board can make informed decisions within its scope. What aspects of the meetings do you think are working well? Honestly, this is the kindest school board I've ever worked with. Nice job, Conval. Following agenda and allowing input from board members, the board appears to address all pressing issues at the time of each meeting. The actual old and new business portions of the agenda are efficient. Can we stop this? Thanks. I'm just going to read them directly off my screen and hopefully not. I am. Well, we are. I'll keep reading and hopefully I can read faster now. Let me just get oriented. Nope. Okay, the actual and old business portions of the agenda are efficient. All timely matters are brought forward for board consideration. Board is kept well informed and consulted on matters before the district. The superintendent's points of pride are great for the board as well as for the community. The meetings are live streamed efficiently and made accessible to the public. Committee reports keep board members informed. Non-publics are legal and kept to a minimum. The chair and vice chair run the meetings efficiently and cooperatively. The student reps have been excellent. The assistant superintendent is taking on more responsibility and contributing regularly to the meetings. The superintendent showcases the Conval community with her points of pride, which is usually a highlight of our board meetings. Next comment, the board is provided with enough information to make decisions. Bringing teachers and students bringing teachers and students in reconnects what we do to reality. I think that the board chair does a good job of keeping the board on track, generally allowing for adequate discussion of issues without getting too bogged down. Meetings tend to not run over the allotted time frequently, and all agenda items are covered. He does a good job making sure everyone has a turn to speak and that discussions are dominated by any one member. Members generally have good working relationships and are respectful of one another and of the administrative team. Last comment, solid agenda, points of pride, mostly respectful dialogue, good information flow between superintendent and the board. Next question was what needs to be improved and how? First response, I think sometimes all information is not giving out to the advisory committee members. I don't think this is on purpose. I just think that people have been doing it so long that they say, oh well, I will just do it. In no way do I think it is intentional or mean-spirited. Streamline some agenda items. This is the next comment. Streamline some agenda items. I'd like to see board meeting kept to 2 hours. I'm sure they're not happy with my, whoever wrote that, it's not happy with my extensive reading of all of these comments. Next comment is, the time would be better used if points of pride were limited to a shorter specific time. Next comment, cut the fluff. While some types of points of pride content is necessary to keep us connected to our ultimate objective, we shouldn't take an hour to get to business. Similarly, the expectation should be that board members come prepared. Short, succinct committee readouts are necessary, but legislative updates that present one board member's viewpoint of the world are unnecessary and may mislead the public about the greater board's position. Keeping up on what is happening at the state level should be an expectation on every board member. The board should spend more time actually addressing the merits and impacts, both academically and financially, of the decisions we are making. Next comment. I can't think of anything. I'm very happy with how the meetings are being run. Next comment. More, we span the gamut. More public involvement, with opportunities for volunteers from the Conval community to team up with the board on school issues. More members need to be vocally included. Next comment, state legislators. Presumably, there's perhaps a question mark there as to where are they? Haven't seen one at our board meetings. Next comment is, let's lay off the race among a handful of people to make motions and second motions. It's kind of amusing and kind of frustrating. How can we hear from more board voices? Next question. What should the follow-up process on items discussed at meetings? What should the follow-up process on items discussed at meetings? Okay, who wrote that?
I thought that question wasn't worded right.
It was, we'll have to consult the NHSBA. I don't think it was a, yeah. If you would like to follow up on it, this is the first response. If you would like to follow up on an agenda item, email the chair. We can discuss in old business if there seems to be an appetite for it, but after a vote, it is not good to bring things back up again unless there is new information. Next comment, assignment to subcommittee or individual board member. Committee chairs should be responsible for ensuring follow-up in their areas is well defined, and then should monitor progress on the steps the committee agreed to take. Answers through the board request channel seem to be effective, but should also be included in the next meeting's documentation package so that the public sees the data we are acting on. If there is an item that is left open at one meeting, it's followed up on the next, pretty much if that's what you mean. Next comment, current system is working, and action plans need to be included with decisions. I think this is the last question. What do you see the role of the board? Oh God, these questions. What do you see the role of the board should be? I.e. deep dives, there we go. So the role of the board is to make policy and deliver a budget that best helps our students. Some of the deep dives seem to be getting closer to things that should not be our purview. Next comment is, I see us as the governing body, set policy, adopt budget, communicate to the public. Next comment has 3 points. 1, define short and long-term goals in consultation with the school administration and the communities of Conval. 2, ensure operational paths for meeting goals are assigned appropriately. And 3, define the balance between meeting goals for student education and the necessary costs to perform them well. Next comment is, the board should be in a decision-making role based on data provided to it. Where district SAU resources are not available to adequately provide that data, then board committees can augment through their own research. Next comment, committee work covers it on the issue of deep dives, right? Protect public education through advocacy partnerships with groups like Fair Funding. I did not write that. Make sure the district is following legal procedures and support the administration in doing their jobs by providing necessary resources. Go wherever we need to go. Shallower, deeper, wider, respond to current issues. I think the role, this is the last comment, it's long. I think the role should involve taking cues from the superintendent, who is the ultimate manager of day-to-day operations, on examination of big picture issues, direction of the district, curriculum, etc. It should also involve listening to the public, both parents and other residents, to understand what they want from the district, and at times bring forth these issues, big or small. The role necessarily involves familiarity with state laws to ensure we have the proper policies in place, another area in which the superintendent is also involved. Right now, in this particular political climate, I think it is very important to have a board member or members who stay abreast of developments in the legislature. I think there are times when maybe we do need to do a deeper dive on an issue, be it something in the legislature or a proposed new program, etc. Perhaps that should somehow be officially assigned rather than relying on people with curiosity drive to do the deep research. We need to have the right information or a heads up about a proposal in advance to be able to do that deeper dive at the right time. We want to be mindful of respecting the superintendent's role while recognizing when the board should be involved. Last comment, financial oversight and policy creation. Deep dives into areas should be contained to items that relate to these two umbrellas. I apologize for you having to listen to me read for that long. And I apologize if I butchered your response.
All right. A couple of those comments, just one is we are trying to make sure that either you're given as much information as we need to make a decision, or that we give you the information in one meeting and make the decision in the next. The problem has been lately that with everything that's happening, there's been a time crunch on a number of things that we needed to make decisions on. But going forward, again, we will try to make sure that the discussions are held in one meeting, and then we give you some time to think about it and get back to us. So, and I do also believe that as far as the goals are concerned, we should try to match a few action plans with them to make sure that you know, we can better measure whether those plans are going forward or not. So, all right, other comments or questions? All right. One of the things that we looked at is the fact that there are a few non-negotiables as far as things that we definitely have to look at as far as goals are concerned. We have a new CVA and CVAA agreement that's being negotiated right now, so that's something that's has to be included with the negotiations committee. We have the negotiation of the withdrawal of Francistown that again has to be part of the goals. As far as the SAU board meetings, we have only until January 1st to come up with an SAU budget. So that again is a plan. And then we will be going forward with our own budget depending on a lot of the other things that are occurring and what needs to be included in that. We have the public hearings for 1300. We have facilities, the CTE renovation that is still out there. And tonight, as Jim said, we had the concession stand that's part of the budget and property. So that's a pretty long list just with those things that you know, are already ongoing. I know we will hear from probably the administration that one of the goals last year was to look at the special ed programming because we ended up with a brand new special ed director. Obviously that was hard to do in her first year, so I'm sure that with a reliance on special ed in our budget, that will be a goal that will be followed up on for this year. So as we go forward, you know, that gives us quite a list already. So what I will do for people is I will get that list down on paper. I will put a couple of suggestions as far as action plans that go with it. And that can be something to think about and work with us on an ongoing basis. Other comments or ideas that people might have going forward? Jim?
I think we need to address the strategic plan. If not complete it, at least identify the deficiencies in it and be ready to complete a new one next year. It's 5 years old now, I think.
Yeah, it runs through 2027, correct? 28?
2028.
Okay. Yeah, Curtis.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there's been a lot happening to distract us in the last few years. And I don't think we can afford to let it, you know, slip from our mind. I think we need to evaluate whether or not we need to look at it, re-engage with it, figure out if we need to rewrite it ahead of schedule because it's been so irrelevant to our work over the past few years, and we need to be including it at least on a quarterly basis in these meetings and tying our work to it. Otherwise, we're rudderless.
Okay. Other comments about the strategic plan? Jim?
In my view, we don't talk about it as much as we used to. We used to talk about it all the time. So maybe it's not as...
We put it on pause for a year, and then there was an RSA that came up that required us to look at some sections. So I think this is a great time to bring it back and look at where we are.
Make it more visible by talking about it.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. I think we do have some non-public, and it has been a long meeting already, so I think we'll leave tonight at that point. As I said, next week we have, not next week, next board meeting. In 2 weeks, we have the district goals and the administrators coming for the school goals. And I'll try to get some of those non-negotiables down on paper, as I said, and then we can see if there are other things that come from those two presentations to add to them. So, all right. Right. If we don't have any public here tonight, so we go into non-public.
Yes, if somebody could make a motion to go into non-public for legal advice offered by our legal counsel.
I move we go into non-public for legal counsel advice.
I second that.
We're working on it. We got to get off first.